Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Mishnapad Paramahansa Parivajaka Ashtoktara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajaka Ashtoktara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, we are on page 408. Text 27. Chapter 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 16th day of July 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text number 27 at the top of page 408. And traditionally we go through word by word and then we'll chant the Sanskrit responsibly. Yat Karoshi Yad Ashnasi Yad Juhoshi Tadasi Yat Tapasyasi Kaunteya Tat Kurushva Mararpanam Yat Karoshi Yarashnasi Yad Juhoshi Dadasi Yat Yat tapassasi kaunteya tat kurushva mararpanam Yat karoshi yarashnasi Yat juhoshi dadasi Yat tapassasi kaunteya tat kurushva mararpanam Yat karoshi yarashnasi Yat juhoshi dadasi Yat tapassasi kaunteya Tat kurushva mararpanam. You want to try it? Yat karoshi yarasnasi Yat juhoshi dadasi Yat tapassasi kaunteya Tat Kurusva Yararpanam. Want to try? You don't have to. You go. Yat karoshi yarashnasi. Yat juhoshi dadasi yat. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya. Tat kurusva mararpanam. One more. Who's brave? David?
I'm not brave, but I'll give it a try. Yat karoshi yarashnasi.
Yat juhoshi dadasi yat. Pasyasi kaunteya. Tat kurusva mararpanam. Ladies. Yat karoshi yarashnasi. Yat juhoshi dadasi yat. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya. Tat kurusva mararpanam. Yat juhoshi yarashnasi. Yat juhoshi dadasi yat. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya. Tat kurusva mararpanam. Yat karoshi yarashnasi. Yat juhoshi dadasi yat. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya. Tat kurusva mararpanam. Okay, I'm going to read the word by word, so you just follow along. Yat, whatever, karoshi, you do. Yat, whatever, ashnasi, you eat. Yat, whatever, juhoshi, you offer. Dadasi, you give away. Yat, whatever, tapasyasi, austerities you perform. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Tat, that, kurusva, do, mat unto me, arpanam, as an offering. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. Purport. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of the body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called arcana. Everyone has a tendency to give something to charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra round his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, this chapter is called The Most Confidential Knowledge. And it's interesting because it's confidential, but at the same time, it's an open secret. It's not like we're not, you have to be initiated into some secret society in order to buy this book and read it. Anyone can read it. We sell them by the thousands every day in all countries, all languages. But it's confidential in that it's not commonly known and it's not commonly accepted. Meaning that Krishna is giving us the very distinct instruction on how we can perfect our lives, how we can fulfill the mission of human life. Many people think, well, is there really a mission? I mean, I just need to survive and, take care of my family, get a house, pay the rent, whatever. And they go from day to day. But that's really not, it's a tragedy, actually, when people forget the actual mission of human life. And Krishna, from his first instructions to Arjuna in the 2nd chapter, he's speaking not only to Arjuna, but he's speaking to everyone who is willing to listen. And the first premise, which is all important to understand, is that we are spiritual beings. We are not these bodies. These bodies are just like a covering on the soul. And every one of us began as, little babies, and somehow we grew up, we survived, and now we're different ages. And if you simply think about your life as you've lived it, you'll see that we've had so many different bodies, really, little baby bodies and adolescent bodies and older bodies, and they're always changing. Bodies constantly changing. But we, as spiritual beings, are not changing. We still feel we're the same person we were many years ago. We've been through so many things, whatever, and we're still that same person. And the key factor is that we were the same person before we were in this body, and we will be the same person after we leave the body. The soul, that particle of consciousness, which Krishna describes in a very nice 20 verses lesson on the soul in the 2nd chapter. And what is pervading this body? It's consciousness. Where don't we feel the consciousness? Where the blood doesn't flow. You can clip your nails and clip your hair and you don't feel anything. But if you happen to hit the tip of your finger, ouch, because blood is flowing there. So it's carried through by the bloodstream. That's scientific, So, but at a certain point, it's an extremely complex machine. I like to point out that if you want proof for the existence of God, just think about your own body. Think about how complex it is. It's medical science. They still don't know really how the brain is working and how all the ideas are coming and all those things. It's a great mystery. So obviously it's complex. We didn't create it. Does anyone really know all the details of how everything is going on in the body and how they're living and breathing and things? No, it's a mystery. They have medical science. They know some things, but they're still discovering more things. So the point is, if you find something, anything that is purposeful, it's fulfilling a function, it's doing something, there's some intelligence behind it, right? You're walking around down the sidewalk and you see a watch on the floor or an iPhone fell on the ground, You don't think it just grew there like the grass, right? There's a whole lot of engineering and thought that went into that. And that means persons. That means people behind it. Similarly, for these extremely complex organisms, not just human life, but every life, there is an intelligence. And it's not a human intelligence. It's a supernatural intelligence. And that Krishna explains in many places here in the Bhagavad Gita. I am the creator of all of this. I am behind it. And not only that, but he expands himself throughout the entire creation. We learn that he's within every atom. It's expansion called the super soul within our heart. He speaks several times in the Bhagavad Gita, most famously in the 15th chapter. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto mattak smitir jnanam apohanangcha. I am situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. And from me come knowledge, remembrance, and also forgetfulness. Sometimes the ability to forget is the most valuable thing. These boys come back from some military engagement and they're traumatized sometimes. They have PTSD, the post-traumatic stress syndrome is very common. Combat. And so the ability to forget. We've all been through a very stressful situation. We don't remember it. Does anyone remember the last time he died? Hope not. No. Go through that again, right? So that's a blessing from Krishna. And while we're living, he's also providing, helping us to remember things. Remembrance and forgetfulness and knowledge. From me come knowledge, remembrance. So now he's trying to give us good instruction. But we are in what we call Maya. We are not listening. We don't want to listen to the internal voice. We sometimes, the conscience, when you have the sense of morality and so forth, that's some, Krishna conscience. Where does that morality come from? And so you feel, yeah, I'd like to do it, but I shouldn't. That will be harmful for me and for those close to me, and so I shouldn't do that. I won't do it. So that's the Krishna speaking from within. But we need more specific instruction. And so it's explained in other Shastra. Lord Chaitanya explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Super Soul, in order to reach us, he comes externally as the Shastra, the books, good books, the sadhus, learned saints, and the preceptor, your own instructor, what we call the guru. The real guru is someone who simply, this whole idea of channeling, Prabhupada called it a transparent medium through which Krishna can speak to us. How we didn't know anything of this science in the West. Practically, it was unknown. The Bhagavad Gita was translated, but it wasn't translated by someone who was a realized soul who could speak with authority. And so I read the Bhagavad Gita before I ever heard about Krishna consciousness. Back in the 70s and the 60s and 70s, back in the last century, there was a whole ferment of spiritual life and the desire to know God. Some of it was coming from LSD and all these things, but from wherever it was, there were a lot of books flowing, and some of them were Bhagavad Gita. I read it, but it was a little paperback, because if you look at the essence of it, there's only 700 paragraphs in here, 700 verses. The bulk of it is Prabhupada's explanation and the Sanskrit and all these things, which is important. So I read through it, and it was fascinating, but I didn't know idea what I was to do in my life. I didn't know that this was supposed to be a life-changing, normative, book. But then when I began to read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, every page, he's saying, this is something you should understand for your eternal benefit. He's taking all the trouble to present it in this format. And it's important also, the beautiful Sanskrit language. This is something I had no idea when I joined back in '73. But I soon found out that these verses, as you probably know, they have a nice beat to them. It's called chanda. It's part of the beauty of the language. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the verses are pretty simple, but still they have a wonderful lilt to them. But when you get to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a much larger work, the verses are just, the very third verse in the whole work is itself some beautiful poetry, drawing in. It says, Nigama kalpatado galitam balam chikamakadamita dharvasam yutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvibhavukaha. That's not ordinary language. I think you can do that in English. So what does it say? Nigama kalpatado. Nigama are all the Vedic writings. They're very vast. You have all the Vedas, you have the Puranas, you have the Mahabharata, which itself is huge, 100,000 verses. Bhagavad Gita is only 700 verses. But it's a chapter, a very important chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. So he says, of all these writings, this Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. You see? Nigama kalpa. It's the fruit of what? A desire tree. The Vedas are like a desire tree. If you want to learn medicine, we have Ayurveda. You want to learn astrology, we have Jyotirveda. You want to learn how to fight, we have Dhanurveda. And if you want to go back to Godhead and achieve perfection, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, and Bhagavad Gita. So the real mission of human life, to get back to the theme, was that we need to wake up. We've been kind of in an illusionary state. Oh, not on the ground, I'm sorry. Yeah, and also that little sign, that's also sacred. Yeah, we try to thank you. Sacred words. So the idea is that we don't know really, who we are. What are we actually? And what the mission of human life is. Is there a mission? So we need to get access to this higher knowledge. And where are we going to get that from? Well, we get it from God himself, but mainly from God's representatives. You see, that's the idea. That with the sadhus and the saints, Jesus Christ was also a representative. Our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, revered him. He was teaching God consciousness as he could in that environment at that time. And he gave his life for, doing that. So this is a great example. But what's come down to us from that, you don't know exactly how you can experience God in the fullest measure, in all his personality. The main premise of the Shastra, of the scripture, is that God is not just a force, he's not a white light, he's a person. He's a person. And we have an eternal relationship with him based on the fact that he is very great and we are very small. But we are also can participate in his Leela. Now the Leela means to play, other than the pastimes, right? That's the meaning of Leela. That's what God is doing. If you were God, would you say, well, okay, I'll do Leela for a little while, then I'll go out and work and really work hard and make some money? No, you're all powerful. You don't need to do that. Whatever business needs to be done, and it's a complicated business, running all of this material world, because Krishna is in charge. God is in charge. So it needs to be maintained to give us a chance, again, after many, many births and deaths, to attain perfection and to learn the knowledge. But he doesn't do that directly. He expands. There's a painting over in the corner there of what we call Mahavishnu, who's an expansion of Krishna, Karana Dakshai Vishnu, who is the first, not the first expansion, but one of the expansions of Krishna's first expansion, which is Balaram. It's very technical. But he just lies in this causal ocean, and he breathes out all these universes, which then he expands in as Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And when he glances, all the living entities are injected into the universes. This is the caliber of Mahavishnu. It's great, powerful. He's not doing Leela. He's just, for that function, Krishna expands. And it goes on like that. I won't get into the detail, but it's very fascinating how the world is being created and maintained, and ultimately will be destroyed. We'll become non-manifest. We don't die, but we're for a long time unconscious. We're within the body of Mahavishnu. But then we come back again, we get another chance. So now we have this great chance. You all come here, and you're getting exposed to Srila Prabhupada's Gita. Many of you have one of these books at home. If you don't, you can find it online. You can read it online. You can get your own. But it's everywhere. And the basic thrust is, in this chapter, Krishna is just, in previous verse, one of the most famous verses, he wants to make it very clear that no one is barred from this. It doesn't matter your birth. It doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter your gender. If you're willing to just listen and follow the instructions, you can get close to him and you can be enlightened. So he said, well, how about eating? How do we spiritualize our eating? So in the previous verse, one of the most famous verses, text 26, he says, it's very simple. It's not a big strain. Patram pushpam palam toyam. Yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktupadhitam ishnami payatatmana. How can we prepare something that God will eat? Well, here he gives the general categories. No meat, it's not necessary to live in that, and it's very sinful because there's so much suffering behind it. There's no need for it. I've been a vegetarian longer than a devotee. I've been a devotee for 51 years, and 2 years before that, I became a vegetarian. I'm telling you, and that helps you to become more receptive to this, to this science. And, there's so many wonderful preparations. You can live a very simple, healthy diet with salads and things. And there's so many different vegetable preparations, and milk is also there. So he's giving the category: leaf, flower, fruit, water. So there's so many different leaves, the whole salad thing. And then and the flower can also be of like the wheat plant, so that, in other words, that's perfectly fine. So basically like that. But the key is bhakti. The key is that you offer it to Krishna. How do you offer it to Krishna? You get a representation. You can have a little deity at home. You can have a sacred altar. If you're interested, we can help you. Some of the books at the back, we have Krishna Consciousness at Home. And it's written by my wonderful godbrother Mahatma Babu many, many years ago. And they're included in many of the smaller books. And how you can practice. You can begin practicing. And the whole idea is to purify your consciousness through this chanting of this mantra, this Hare Krishna mantra. It truly is the Maha Mantra. It's right in the Vedas. There's a Upanishads, the famous Upanishads, which are known as the crown jewels of the Vedas. One of them is called the Kali Santarana Upanishad, which means very, concisely, that Upanishad which will help you be delivered from the trap of this Kali Yuga. This Kali Yuga is not so good for yoga. You may notice there's always some threatening. Kali means fighting. But still, Lord Chaitanya's movement is so powerful and this mantra is so powerful that you can become perfected even in this. So he says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. Which means these 16 names, we see them here, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, you know it. It's very simple to learn. You can learn in 1 minute. These 16 Shodashikam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam can destroy all of the evil influences of this Kali Yuga. There's so much craziness going on. Now, the wet, you may have noticed, the climate has changed. I've noticed. We're so fortunate here. It's a little cool. That's good. It's like 125 in Death Valley, and it's got 100 degrees in Chicago. And it's crazy. And we're doing it. We're messing it up by all of this, greenhouse gases. I'm sure you know what's going on with that. Being absorbed into the ocean and, creating more extreme weather. So, but even though that's going on, you can get some peace of mind by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, and you get close to God. It's the most powerful mantra. You can search through all the Vedas and you will not find a more efficient means of counteracting these evils than this Hare Krishna mantra. That's in the Upanishads. And Lord Chaitanya quoted from the Brihanaradiya Purana. Puranas are ancient history. The Bhagavad Purana, Bhagavatam is one. But this famous verse, it says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatadanyata. Very easy verse to learn. There's only like 3 or 4 words in it, different words. So I put it into a poem. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, oh Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever under your lotus feet bow. So that kind of feeling of supplication to the Lord, feeling that we need help, because this is a very dangerous age and time is going. We don't live very long, and Kali Yuga is happening and the election is happening. I don't even want to think about it. So many dangers. But Krishna is ready to help us if we call upon him. But we need to call upon him from a position of real supplication. And that's why, Lord Chaitanya didn't write that much. He spoke a lot, and his students wrote, like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. Wonderful books, very important. But he did write 8 verses about the holy name. And if you like, I can share one with you. I put it into a poem. So this is first of the Shikshastika. Ashtaka means 8 verses of instruction based on the holy name. So the first verse is, those who know it can chant along. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhava mahadav vagni nirvapanam Sheya kaidava chandrikava tadanam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamita swadanam sarvatmasnapadam padam vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Practically the whole movement of Krishna consciousness is based on this verse and subsequent verses. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge, which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy names and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. The whole movement is practically there. So, this was Lord Chaitanya's great gift. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. The whole movement is based on a few little syllogisms, Krishna is God, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, and we're his eternal servants. If you believe that, understand that, and act on that basis, then you can perfect your life. So how is Lord Chaitanya Krishna? Well, there's various parts of the Shastra that reveal it to be so. But it's very nicely explained in another book, which is our most esoteric book. You got the Bhagavad Gita, then you got the postgraduate with the Bhagavatam, but postgraduate is Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the crest jewel of all the Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures. It describes Lord Chaitanya's life and his teachings in the most poetic way by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Now, Kaviraj means a king of poets. So it's very beautiful Sanskrit, verses he writes himself. I'll give you a sample, since I know you're probably curious. Krishna is Kaviraj himself. So he's writing in his Govinda Lilamrita. He says, Kunkamakta kanchanam jagavahari gorabha Pita nanchitabda ganda kirti nindi sorabha Ballaveshu suna sava vanchitarti sarika Maya marna parpadma dasa dastu radhika. Now when we open the curtains, you're going to see two figures in the middle. You have the female on the right, Krishna's on the left playing his flute, and on the right is Radhika, Radharani, who's an energy of Krishna, his pleasure energy personified, Ladini Shakti, love personified. Now, I can request you, take a look at her right hand, because she's holding a hand like this. And this is called a mudra, Abhay Dan mudra, Abhay Dan, the gift of fearlessness. That's what this means. It says, don't worry. You simply chant our names and learn to serve us, I know, and we'll reciprocate, and you'll be very blissful and happy, and you'll conquer over birth and death. So don't worry. Yes, there's ups and downs in this material world, but we'll pull you through if you devote your life. You learn how to connect to us in love and devotion. So the translation of this, now, this is quite advanced, and I'm not going to get into trying to explaining it, but Radha and Krishna are the epitome of loving exchange. And Krishna, as you probably heard, he has his gopis, and they dance rasa dance and all these things. We're not going to explain that in detail. But that's the supreme rasa. But there's other rasas, relationships with Krishna, that are completely right for whoever that happens to be. And it's all based on the service, the sense that we want to see Krishna happy. He is all loving. He is so great that he can have a personal relationship with every single one of us. We're all individuals, we all vary, but he's God. And he can have an infinite number of these personal relationships, and it's completely fulfilling for every soul. So Radharani Srimati Radharani is the supreme servant of Krishna. So here's the first of this verse. This is a song of the parrots glorifying Radha and Krishna. There's a male parrot also sings. So it says, her gold complexion steals the pride of golden lotus tinged with red. Her fragrance mocks the scent of lotus bloom with saffron powder spread. Her skill in satisfying Sri Hari is perfect and complete. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Now we should know that Srila Prabhupada told us when we chant Hare Krishna in the proper frame of mind, we're actually employing Radha and Krishna to give us service, to give us a service, a place at their lotus feet to serve. Because right now we say, well, service, well, I got to, so many things I got to control, But actually we're servants now. Just like, didn't we, during the pandemic, all of us remember, maybe you were a little young. But anyway, I'm sure something happened. The pandemic was scary, right? Because suddenly we think, oh my God, I might not be able to breathe, right? So I better put that mask on and don't get too close and all the things, right? And then I got as many vaccinations as they would let me get because I'm a senior, right? So they all free. So I got a very mild case of it, but it was okay. But the point is, we have to serve those lungs, right? Make sure we got plenty of oxygen in there, That's service. We have so much service we have to do. It gets hungry, we got to feed the belly, right? We got to take care of so many different things. We are servants already. So the perfection of that service, not that we're going to, leave the body or anything. We use the body, not for sense gratification, but in service to Krishna. Just like the hands, right? The hands we use so much, important. So you come early in the morning and the pujaris are getting ready to dress the deities. It's such I was never a pujari like that. But now we have a wonderful crew of pujaris, and you'll see when the doors open, and you'll see the beauty, So much trouble, the flowers and the arrangement and sewing, we had I knew the lady, she made so many nice outfits. And the idea is that, this decoration, I could be doing to try to decorate myself in order to attract the opposite sex, or I can do it in order to decorate Krishna. And I won't worry about my, I'll wear very simple clothes, My whole wardrobe is worth about $100. I have a few of these. Search, that's it. And I don't replace it that often. So, but, there's nothing is spared for the deities. So you become pleased, you become happy seeing the deities are beautiful. That's devotion, you see? You're getting happy, and pleasurable, by seeing that Krishna is happy. And he's really happy when you serve his devotees, And that's the basis of a very harmonious society, where you lead a little bit. Just let me have a place where I can chant Hare Krishna and a little simple things to eat and so forth. And then what service can I do? This is the real attitude. It's just the opposite of the whole thing. I'm going to, I'm the center of everything, and I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'll exploit this person. I may cheat that person a little bit, And it's totally degrading. It's the opposite of upliftment. And there's karma. Yes, karma, and reincarnation includes karma. The more that you help people and are selfless, that's good karma. And you'll prosper in your next life. Maybe you'll be on this plane, or you go to the heavenly planets. But as devotees, we don't want to go to the heavenly planets. That's a detour we don't want to take. In this very chapter, Krishna says about that. He says, Trividyamam somapad, this is text 20, that those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, so there's parts of the Vedas that those who know, which are like Karma Kanda section. They'll tell you how you can practice this sacrifice and chant these mantras, and you can go to the Surya Loka or Indra Loka, right? So and then Krishna describes those who drink the soma juice and study the worship me indirectly, purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Then it sounds good. First line, Tetam Bhuktva Swargalokam Vishalam. Vishalam means great. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, but the results of their pious activities are exhausted because it's all material. It's just like putting money in the bank and you got your credit card, right? You can draw on that bank account. When you go to Hawaii, you go to San Diego, go to the zoo, you're playing, take a credit card. But then you put the credit card in and said, oh, Mr. Smith, do you have another card? There doesn't seem to be being left on this card. Oh, I got to go back down to the hellish planet. Remember, I got to go back to work. That's what it means to go to. It's nothing permanent about it. So Krishna discourages that. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the result of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. So he describes it as the planet of death, birth and death. That's where we live. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas, it's a Karma Kanda, achieve only repeated birth and death. So it's not worth it. It's a detour. You're postponing it. From this platform, from this plane, starting today, this moment, if you don't waste a moment in striving to attain that position where you go back to the Godhead, to the spiritual world, where there's no coming back. And you reinstitute it in your life of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, ever increasing. That's the promise. It sounds like a pipe dream, but this is why it's so important to have saints like Srila Prabhupada who personified that. Just imagine coming to America at the advanced age of 69, 70, not in the best of health. He risked his life. He had 2 heart attacks on the way over. He didn't come over on a big airliner. 7-hour trip, 12-hour trip. No, it was more like 40 days, on this ship. And it wasn't a cruise ship. It was a cargo ship, So he came over, and when he took rest, and after that second heart attack, he said, "Well, there's another one. I'm gone." He didn't think he would survive. So Krishna came to him in a dream, and he said, "Don't worry, I'm taking over the boat. Everything will be okay." So now here's the first miracle. This is the Atlantic during the hurricane season. I know because I lived in Miami for 6 years. And every time July and August and September would come around, oh boy, batten the hatches, keep your eye on the weather report because those hurricanes come. While I was there, luckily they didn't have one that hit. But they're hitting now. So so he came, this is the Atlantic Ocean during that time. And it was just as smooth as glass. After that third heart attack, Krishna took over the boat. And in fact, so much so that the captain's wife, who was traveling with him, was joking, she said, "Swamiji, can you please come on the return trip? Because we had the smoothest crossing we ever had." So Krishna was watching, he was taking care of him. And even though after that he had a stroke, after 1 year, he had to go back to India. But still, he persevered. He took some Ayurvedic medicine. He was in Vrindavan, at home and everything, got better and came back in late 67. And there was a smattering of devotees in the temples in America, I think in Canada, maybe Montreal. And it was, the movement had just started. If Prabhupada had left at that time, there would be no Hare Krishna movement. But he came back, and the devotees were so grateful, the tears were flowing, and everything started from then. So the point is, he risked everything, Haribol. And he was successful, Krishna, miraculously. At that age, this worldwide movement, build a big temple in Bombay, in Mayapur, in India, in Vrindavan. It was incredible that he was able to inspire so many people to come, So that's Krishna working through his pure devotee. And we have a chance. When you read these books, you're getting the most important association with Srila Prabhupada, the words, his words. He worked so hard for these. And his editors, I didn't directly edit this, but was still, refining and polishing everything. But they're invaluable, and so that's why we have these classes. I've been doing these classes since '89, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can. And this is such a wonderful crowd. We've had smaller crowds, sometimes 4 or 5 in the early days. But now that we have the internet, and I know they're out there, because people write me from Canada, they write me from New Mexico, So there's another program going on tonight, but I could have attended, but I wanted to come here because I knew that you would be here. So, any questions, comments? Please, if you have something. Yes, Prabhu. Give a mic, because we do have people outside who are listening.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Prabhu.
Can you explain what's the soma juice?
Soma juice.
Yes.
It's a beverage that's there in the heavenly planets. It's also, soma is also related to the moon, I think, right? And it's an intoxicant that doesn't get you intoxicated. In other words, it's very wholesome, and it's you drink it, and it's part of the whole pleasure that you can enjoy there. I don't know, but here we have the perverted reflection of alcohol, liquor, which is not wholesome at all, but it'll get you kind of high for a little while. But then this is the problem with sense gratification. There's some pleasure there, but then there's a downside. Then there's this is my favorite verse. It's practically every class I'm going to chant this verse. Yahi sangsparjaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate ajandamattan konteya nateshu ramate buddha. Buddha, the intelligent person. So he says, the pleasures that are derived from the senses contacting their objects, O son of Kunti, the intelligent person does not take part in them. These are the sources of all our miseries, and they have a beginning and an end. And so the wise person doesn't take part in them. Well, then where do we find our pleasure? That's in the previous verse. Bhayasparshesu asaktatmat vindatyatmatayat sukham sab brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. There's 3 words you can learn here. Sukham is happiness. Akshaya means unbroken. Ashnute, joy. Where do you find unbroken pleasure in this material world? You can't. It's all flickering. It has a beginning and an end. But the happiness derived from bhakti doesn't have an end and is ever increasing. It's inconceivable. So that's the soma juice. It may be a better high than anything we have on this planet, but it's still, your whole situation there comes to an end, and you have to come back down here. So it's not something we want to aspire for. And you can see, there's 3 Vedas for it. People get into that. And that, maybe sit on this side.
Oh, sorry.
We have several chairs. So that's the hardest part, to begin. We have to give up, these sensual pleasures, and, well, I love this word, sublimate. It's a psychological word, but I think we're going to sublimate that word so that we can use it, because it means make sublime. How do we make our eating sublime? The previous verse, pattam pushpalam toyam. You cook it for me, for my pleasure. Cook it so it's very nice, and then you can take the remnants. And Prabhupada introduced that, and the movement exploded. He was a great cook, and he taught how to cook. It can be the most delectable, it's provided it's made according to rules and regulations. You offer it to Krishna with love, you taste it, and then we take the remnants. So they become spiritualized, and you get closer to Krishna, and you actually, get attached to like that. So the soma juice is, yes, it's a heavenly enjoyment, and there's many others. But there's a beautiful verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati. He wrote a book called the Chaitanya Chandramrita. I made a recording of it if anyone was interested. It's all about Lord Chaitanya. And he says like this, Kaivalyang narakayate Tridashapur akasha pushpayate. Durdant indriya kala sarpa patali protkata dangshayate. Vishwang purna sukhayate. Vidi mahindra adist kitayate. Yet karunyaka takta vaivababatam tam gaurame vastabak. I worship Lord Gaur, the golden avatar Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya. If one is empowered by his merciful sidelong glance, and we can all do that by just serving the Sankirtan movement, chanting Hare Krishna, then here's the result. Kaivalyam, merging into the Brahman, for eternal life of just existence, no birth, no death. Oh, how wonderful. It's like going to hell. Why? There's no Bhagavan. There's no Bhakta. There's no Bhakti. Forget it. And Tridashapur, how about the heavenly planets? Tridashapur means the heavenly planets like Indraloka and Suryaloka, Brahmana. It's like a sky flower. It's not unreal. It's not even real to us. We don't care. That's Tridashapur. Akasha Pushpa. Is there a flower up in the sky? No, it's just imaginary. No need to worry about that. Then what about yoga? The very difficult to control senses, which are like poisonous snakes ready to bite you and take your consciousness here and there. It's like the snakes are there, but they have the fangs removed. In other words, you have the senses, but they're your friends because you're using them to serve Krishna. The eyes can be used to watch unmentionable things and degrade yourself, or to see the deities, or to read Prabhupada's books. So it's all dependent on our intelligence and our will, which way we're going to direct it. Then he goes on, Vishwang Purna Sukhayate. One sees if one is empowered by the merciful sidelong glance of Lord Chaitanya by joining his movement and following the principle. Then the whole world is actually full of happiness because you see Krishna's pastimes everywhere. Even though there's so much misery for you, you can tolerate and try to, and see Krishna working everywhere. And as far as the demigods, he says even Brahma and Shiva, we honor them, but we don't worship them because we see they don't really have anything to give to us. So the point is that if you can get on that, train of going by following Lord Chaitanya's instructions and his followers' instructions, then as we brought out this wonderful Maharaj who visits here named Bhakti Sundar Swami. They say, Prabhupada, once you start, there's no loss or diminution. Even if you just do one little thing, of devotion in this lifetime. You come to one Bhagavad Gita class, but that guy was so boring, I'm not coming back anymore. That's okay. You got to come to another class in your next life. Because nothing is lost. Krishna says, Neha Bhikkhumanaso Sti, there's no loss or diminution. So the point is, we don't want to waste any time. Why don't we make as much advancement as possible and maybe even go back to the Godhead in this life? Then we'll all have an eternal kirtan together. So that's the idea. Is that was that about the Somaras? All from the Somaras?
Soma juice, yeah.
Soma juice. I think I got a little far off. All right. Any other question? Comment?
Thank you, bro.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. It doesn't really relate to what we were talking about, but a close friend of mine who lives in Iowa, her house got the hurricane took the house, basically.
My God. Hurricane in Iowa?
Hurricane, yeah.
Oh, God.
Wait.
Anyway, it could be a tornado.
Some kind of natural disaster.
Yeah, I read
blew
about
her
that.
house up, basically.
Horrible.
I'm curious, is there more to do than, is there something else to do besides what I'm already doing to try
To comfort her?
Yeah.
The best thing to do is to try to introduce Krishna consciousness. You can send a book. You can ask him to chant with you, and then take it yourself. If you can get some beads, meditation. Sometimes if these things happen to you, you're not ready. It says, I can't believe in God. Why would I'm innocent? Why would God do this to me? I can't believe in God. But actually, none of us is innocent. We all carry with us a whole train of karma and sinful reactions, and that sometimes comes due even for devotees. I've known devotees who had accidents, and some who got killed in accidents and things like that. So the point is that recognizing that that we have that background and these things are going to happen, we want to try to find that spring or that wellspring of peace and joy, if you will, that is always with us in any circumstance, at any time. Because I have a kind of a decent voice, I can sing, I've been asked to chant at devotees' bedsides when they're leaving their bodies. About 6 or 8 times already. I've been here so long, 35 years. So devotees have passed away. There was one very wonderful devotee named Radhanath Das, not Radhanath Swami, but Radhanath Das. Did you ever hear of it? He was crippled, I knew him back in Miami when he first got some neurological disease. But despite all that, he would go out. He had an aide who would wheel him out, and he would distribute books in a lot. You know Balaram? Balaram is going to be our new president, by the way. I hope I'm not trespassing on it. But he's been here for 18 years. He joined when he was 18. He's 35 years now, old, wonderful devotee. And he and his mother joined at the same time. They were in a parking lot, and there was Radhanath. And he asked to take this book, and he said, okay, and they took this little book. They read the book, and then he became interested, came to the temple, And when he was leaving, he was in the hospital, and we were all chanting Hare Krishna, And he decided to leave. He could have gone on, but the doctor said, no, you can't go out anymore. You have to be on this breathing machine all the time. He said, forget it. So he told me, the Dravida, I want to do it on Friday. He said, I can't do it on Friday because I'm going traveling. Okay, we'll do it on Thursday. Meaning that he figured, okay, just pull the plug at that time. He voluntarily did that. He wasn't afraid of dying. And so we all gathered, and Rohini, with Balaram's mother, was there, and they all said, oh, thank you for giving us that book, and we were all chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And he peacefully left. And this is the most valuable thing, to have association of devotees who are willing to help you depart and go to the next plane. And I'm not going to tell any more stories, but we've had several wonderful departures here. And I worked in a hospital before I joined for a whole year as an inhalation, the guy who takes around the oxygen. So I saw a whole bunch of people die. It's scary, For the most part, there's a lot of sedation because people are freaked out. They don't know what's happening. And it's a completely different experience. Everything is everything I have, my relationships, whatever, I've gathered, it's all being taken away. As Krishna says, Mrityu Sarvaharascha in the 10th chapter of Gita. As death, I take everything away, everything material. But if we have spiritual assets because we practice some Krishna consciousness, that's not taken away. That will bring us into an environment in our next life where it will be more favorable. Maybe a family of devotees or whatever it is, you see. So we have to see our life, we have to broaden the scope and understand we have a whole history behind and we have a history ahead. And because we're human beings, we can do things that can change our destiny. The animals can't, they're just going by instinct, So therefore, learning this knowledge and beginning to practice the principles of devotional service is very simple. It's not that difficult, but it's so beneficial, like that. So, anyone else?
Well, I noticed that you said that, unless I was misunderstanding, that Shiva is a demigod.
Shiva's not a god.
Okay,
but he's not a living entity. He's in between. He's Shiva Tattva.
All right, so yeah, that's what I was kind of confused about, because I thought in I want to say the Indian faith that I guess Shiva was. If you look him up on Google, they say that he's a god at least.
Yeah, well, don't take Google. Google Vacha is not what we do. Shiva Bhagavan Vacha. Now Shiva Brahma is a living entity. He's like us, but he's incredible. He's tremendous longevity. You can't even imagine. And Shiva is in between. He's between the Shiva Tattva and Krishna Tattva. He's not. He's more powerful actually than Brahma. But his function is he oversees the mode of ignorance, so that when it's time for this universe to be destroyed, he expands and he dances. You've seen the dance, the Tandava Nritya, and everything dissolves into its components, But nobody dies. Every body dies. There's no question about it. Every body dies, nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal.
Who's going to make a T-shirt for me with that amount of money? No, that's right. I think I have one at home. All right, there's time for one more poem, and then we'll have to adjourn for the RT. Hare Krishna. We'll have a nice kirtan, we have a nice group. So one more about the holy name. Madhura Madhura Meta Mangalam Mangalanam Sakalaningamavalli Satpalam Chitswarupam Sakarapipadigitam Shraddhaya Heliyava Bhagavadananamatram Tadiyet Krishna Nama. Of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of all the Vedic writings, it's the transcendental fruit, the very form of spirit, unalloyed and absolute. When uttered even once with faith or uttered once with none, from birth and death it surely will deliver anyone. And in the end it brings pure love for Krishna, life's true aim. So cast away all doubts and chant Shri Krishna's holy name. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for your attention. Let's do it again soon. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, tomorrow, if you like. I don't know if there'll be any burritos, no tacos though. I mean, okay. But you can catch it online. So I have hundreds of these classes or recorded online also you can watch. So, Dr. Baxter. All right. Yes.